the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. He's been good. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. God has. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. He's so good to me. Let me tell you, God has everybody, sometimes, He has set God Almighty, I feel so good. Oh yeah, one more time. Yeah. Every day of my life, I feel it. He gives me strength and energy. Help me to sing. He's been good to me. Oh, yeah. This is Reverend Al Sharpton of Brooklyn, New York. I've been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people, and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama.
It's Monday,
To get dignity, trying to get respect.
June
And he went all the way to the
16th.
mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in
Black
the valley. He didn't
Music
forget about
Month.
those trapped in the alley. And I
Do
hear Brother
you
Martin King say,
know what time it is? It's Al Sharpton's time. And for the next 3 hours. It's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. Welcome to those listening on Sirius XM. Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. I'm coming to you live from our National Action Network corporate headquarters in New York. And for the next 3 hours, you can call in. It is Hot Button Monday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, all you have to do is call us at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or tweet us, or go to our live stream at www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, or you can, once you go to the live stream there, you can send a message and it will be on our message board. I see Patty Jones is already on. Hi, Reverend Sharpton. Blessings and love to you. Thank you, Patty. Good morning, good Reverend from Canada. George, what is this? Crystal Dulu. I hope I'm saying it right. From Canada. Thank you for joining in and listening, George. Lisa Pretty Eyes Brown says, good afternoon. And Howard Bankhead says, yes, I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, committed to positive changes. All right, Howard. So a lot of people checking in. A lot to talk about on this Hot Button Monday. And I'm taking your calls as well as messages, 1-877-532-5797. Over the weekend, we saw President Donald Trump have his military parade celebrating, as he said, the 250th anniversary of the Army. It also coincided with his 79th birthday, what many people felt was his real point. But it was very sparsely attended. If you looked at the stands, they were not full, parts of it empty. It was, from a standpoint of optics, a bust. Whereas the No King marches all over the country, and they were in all 50 states, some as high as 20,000 or more. NAN was part of them in many cities, and they're claiming 2.5 million people, some saying up to 5 million, but the conservative figure, Randy Weingarten, who was co-chair of it, was on Politics Nation with Al Sharpton last night. She said the conservative figure is 2.5 million. Now, we're not getting into crowd size. It's not show business. But if you've got 2.5 million people marching all over the country and can't fill up the stands in in Washington, around your celebration of your 250th anniversary of the Army, which really is your birthday celebration, because no one is against the Army. They were against you and what you're doing. It's interesting. He wants to celebrate the Army while he's cutting benefits and cutting Medicaid and cutting SNAP and dealing with things veterans need. But you would think with the contrast in turnouts that this would say something to them, that they would get a message. We'll see. I won't hold my breath, but we'll see. At the same time, we saw in Minnesota 4 elected officials shot, 2 died. In Minnesota, a man posing as a policeman came to their homes in the middle of the night and executed a elected official and her husband, and went to another elected official's house, wounded them. They've apprehended him, and he is in custody, and he's being charged both with state crimes and federal crimes. This kind of political targeting is becoming too normalized. Whether it's Donald Trump with the 2 assassination attempts on him, whether it was involving others, this has to stop. We are normalizing political assassinations, political attacks, to the point where it's numb. And we got to, as a country, be better than that. One of the things we need to do is get the guns off the street and get this psychology of anything goes. We saw that this weekend as well. We see on the international level, Israel and Iran have brought their attacks on each other in the fourth day of the conflict, and we need to keep an eye on that. That could cause a real war that goes beyond just the boundaries of Iran and Israel. And the judge has blocked the Trump election order as unconstitutional, calling it unconstitutional overreach into state voting laws. But at the same time, the courts in New York, State Court of Appeals, refused to overturn the judgment against him that the woman that accused him of sexual abuse and sexual harassment has made. In fact, she has a book coming out about the trial that hits the stands tomorrow. Well, there's a lot going on. We Black Music Month and certainly Father's Day. I trust that everyone had a good Father's Day. If you are a father, if you dealt with it with your father. I preached Metropolitan Baptist Church, major church in Newark, New Jersey, and my daughters were there with me. I guess the most heartwarming thing happened, I would thank people for gifts that they gave, was that my grandson was taken out by his father, Marcus Al Sharpton Bright. His daddy, Marcus Bright, took him out and took him to a bookstore, and Marcus Al, my grandson, 6 years old, went and picked out the books by his grandfather, Al Sharpton. Picked out all 5 books that I wrote that was in this bookstore. In fact, we posted it on his father filmed him doing it and posted it on my Instagram for you to follow me on social media. And that, you couldn't get better than that for me. See your 6-year-old grandson on Father's Day, seeing his grandfather books on sale or being sold in a bookstore. One, I started reading that age. I started reading very young. And 2, it reminds me of we all have a legacy that we're leaving 2 generations, 3 generations behind. He's second generation behind me. So that was my Father's Day gift. Other gifts, very nice, but that was my Father's Day gift. Happiness Donuts is saying on the message board, oh, good job, Marcus Al. Look at the video on Instagram. Go to Real-Sharpton. You can see the video on my Instagram page. Let's get ready to take a break and start opening up the phones this Hot Button Monday. I want to hear what songs, if you didn't get any through last week, what message song? Let's talk about message songs today. I got your favorite songs, your favorite love songs, your favorite artists last week. What is your most memorable message songs? Love songs are good, but what about message songs? 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797. And AS is saying, hey, Reverend Al, I'm 53 years old, and you're like the second father I never had with my grandpa. I love you so much. All right. Well, I guess I'm 53. I'm 17 years old. Yeah, I'm old enough to be your father. And I appreciate it. I appreciate your love. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the 2 most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me, and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you're very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that called me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored. And I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them. Now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
did you hear about what happened in Minneapolis? I said, I saw it on television. It was in the middle of a pandemic. We were all locked down, couldn't go anywhere. And just watched the news over and over again. And he said, the family would like to speak with you. He connected Philonis Floyd and one of George's brothers, carrying on with Keepin and other members, all of the families, many of the families. And he said they'd like you to go to Minneapolis and protest what happened, and also say that we are not a family that condone violence, but some people were burning stuff down. In the middle of a pandemic, it's important that you know that people from all over, Black America, white America, all people came together to stand with this family. But I promised them that we would be there to the end. 5 years later, some people are missing, but I had to be here. And I'll be here as long as it takes to be present. Reverend Al Sharpton is not and it's Black Music Month, and it's a whole lot going on. You need to weigh in and be heard nationwide. I was anxious, really anxious to get to the airways today after this weekend, the vicious killings in Minnesota, the millions marching around the country, the no-shows in Washington for the president's 250th anniversary of the Army, where it was really the 79th birthday for him. So much going on. And the reason why it is important that we have these shows is so much is going on. We need to be able to break down to each other, for each other, by each other, exactly what's going on and why, and get various opinions. Could be opposing opinions. But why? Because otherwise people just deal with life as a blur and never really understand what is happening in the world that in many ways decides the boundaries, the sociological boundaries and spaces that we have to live in, unless we do something about it to expand those boundaries. And that's why disagreement is good. I like when people call in and say, well, I didn't agree with that caller. I don't agree with you, Reverend Al. Because I found myself more than once saying, I never looked at it that way. I've had others on the message board say things, and others would say, I never looked at it that way. If we had more dialogue, we would have more activism and more participation, because people will feel their input is being regarded and respected. You can't shut people up and then turn them out. People don't want to be listening to the people, but then they want them to vote or they want them to buy their product. If you let people participate, they'll vote and they'll buy your product. But if you shut me down, then you also shut me out. Let me say by way of announcements, don't forget to watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday on MSNBC. Saturday, I came on for a minute, but we had to deal with the whole questions that we were faced with on Saturday night, the violence and the whole question of the marches. Then on last night we had a full show, and I had the Attorney General of Minnesota on, Keith Ellison, talking about the killing in Minnesota. I had the congressman from the state of Washington on talking about the marches there. I had the mayor of Los Angeles on, Karen Bass, talking about what was going on the ground there. I had retired General Henry talk about what he saw as the military parade day. So I don't get no people that I don't think have something important to say. I had the co-chair of the huge marches around the country, Randy Weingarten, was on, talking about the 2.5 million to 3 million that they had march all over the country yesterday, which we supported. Many of NAN people there, I supported it, did the videos, promoted it. Make sure you watch Politics Nation every Saturday, every Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. If you're in the New York area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice in Harlem every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and you can watch it if you're not in New York on Impact Television. Last Saturday, we had Andrew Cuomo, one of the candidates for mayor. I've now had Adrian Adams, who's a candidate for mayor, who's a member of NAN. We had Brad Lander, who's the city controller. And we had Michael Blake, brother runner, who came out of the Obama administration, used to be an assemblyman. Had Andrew Cuomo. Zoran Manmandi will be there this Saturday. I'm letting all the candidates address the community in whatever way they want. I've not endorsed anyone. National Action Network has not endorsed anyone in the mayor's race. I might before Election Day. Early voting is already going on. But I have not as of yet. I want them. They all spoke at our convention, national convention, and they all speak Saturday rally. So if you're in New York, be at the Saturday Action Rally. I have a message for you into the election. I'm going to have Zoran McMandy and others speak, but then I'm going to give the message and make sure you're in the house Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, 145th Street, Lenox Avenue, in Harlem. And of course, we are getting hundreds of signed up to be messengers of the August 28th march. Now, if you could see people all over the country marching, you have no excuse. This will be the first major march that is based in terms of organizing from the black community. And it's on the anniversary of the March on Washington. But it's in New York this year at Wall Street. We're marching on Wall Street. Why Wall Street, Reverend Al? Well, I thought you would never ask, because that is the people that have the influence, the captains of industry, the leaders of corporate America. They have the influence because they're the ones getting the tax cuts and deregulation. And we need to put thousands right there. We're going to start at the African Burial Ground, march 1 mile to the hub of Wall Street, where they do the Dow Jones and all. It's going, people talking about no violence this weekend. We don't have violence at our march. No violence. If you come to our march trying to start us something, we'll hand you over to the authorities. We're not going to have that. Because we don't want to get in the way of the message. And violence becomes the issue rather than DEI or Save Medicaid or dealing with what's going on with continued police misconduct. You get in the way of the message in the name of you mad. Well, why you have to wait till somebody's marching for you to get mad? I don't trust it. A lot of it is provocateurs, so we make sure we handle that correctly. All right, so make sure you give me a call. We'll take a break and come right back to the phones. Hot Button Monday. Give me your favorite message songs and your opinions of all that happened over the Keeping It Real. Sharpton, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
What do you see there, Marcus?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. Third one.
What do you see there, Marcus L?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. There is 1.
What do you see there?
One year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego, everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going at Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator, House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine Guy. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year, we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York. Chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, remember the chairman of the board, remember the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. So what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump says he's going to redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were going to raise the tariffs. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff. Said, did you hear about what happened in Minneapolis? I said, I saw it on television. It was in the middle of a pandemic. We were all locked down, couldn't go anywhere. And just watched the news over and over again. And he said, your family would like to speak with you. He connected Philonise Floyd and one of George's brothers. We carried on with Keepin and other members, all of the families, many of the family members. And he said they'd like you to go to Minneapolis and protest what happened, and also say that we are not a family that condone violence, but some people were burning stuff down. In the middle of a pandemic, it's important that you know that people from all over, Black America, white America, all people came together to stand with this family. But I promised them that we would be there to the end. 5 years later, 532-5797 1-877-532-5797, and you can also put a message on our message page, message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Go to live stream. In fact, Lori Parks, my friend Lori Parks, says, special shout out to Reverend Jesse Jackson. Not that many civil rights era leaders who are still with us. I give them their flowers and praise right now while they're still with us. And thank you for that, Lori. And I know you mean that. I went to see Reverend Jackson last week when I was in Chicago. Every chance I get, I go to see him, Andy Young. Those are the ones that paved the way. They were the generation ahead of me. And many of you, the generation behind me. One of the things that I think is a robbery to our people is we have no sense of generational continuity. We get more caught up on generational conflict than generational continuity. And most other groups are a continuum of the generations ahead of them. They take the businesses, they take their religious institutions, they take their academic institutions, they take their social and political institutions, and they build one generation to the next. They're proud to tell you, my granddaddy did this, my daddy did this, my uncle did this. We act like we got to redo it every generation, and that's a trick out of slavery to cut us off from our roots. A tree is not as strong, the strength of a tree, let me put it this way. The strength of a tree is not determined by how long its branches are. The strength of a tree is determined by how deep its roots run. Branches are going to die when seasons change. Roots connect you to the earth. And that doesn't mean you do the same thing the same way of the generations ahead of you, but the fundamentals and the continuity and the spirit of standing on some principle and values should run from generation to generation. So I'm proud that I was a student and mentee of people like Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend James Bevel, Reverend Dr. William Augustus Jones. I looked up to people like Adam Clayton Powell and got to meet him a couple times. I'm proud of that. I ain't trying to undo what they did. I have my own style, my own way of doing things, but I do it in the same vein, continuing that fight. Because the fight didn't start with you and it's not going to end with you. And trying to be the new thing makes you a new idiot. IDIOT. Let's take some calls. Let's start in Philadelphia with Hakeem. Hakeem in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. You're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Reverend, and happy Father's Day to you, sir.
Same to you.
To your staff as well. Thank you. Hey, Reverend Al, so my black choice of, since this is Black Music Month, I'd like to go with Bob Marley, Get Up, Stand Up. Stand up for your rights.
Yeah.
For the fight. Yes, sir. Yes. And so, Reverend, now I would like to ask too one more question before we hang up here. Were we better in segregation, dealing versus integration? Because I was watching a documentary, and with segregation, we were forced to invent our own products. Right, and then when we integrated, it's like that we basically was happy and just to be integrated with with white folks, and it just seems like that with our own inventions that we came out with when with segregation. I mean, I know segregation is bad because it was like, okay, blacks on this side, whites or coloreds on this side, and whites on this side, and when I look at it, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I was just thinking like, wow, like look at all the inventions that we came out with.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I think that segregation made us do more things with each other, but it couldn't be better than us being able to do things and being enhance whatever we were doing. In the context of the broader world. So we went to segregated schools and got less money, less books. We got poor education, poor health care and all. So segregation couldn't have been better. What I understand and agree with what you're saying is that we were more innovative, and we should continue that. But people shouldn't have to oppress you to make you be creative. I mean, are we so inferior that somebody got to isolate us for us to do what we did under segregation? So I think we went through a period. That's why I understand your question, and you're right to raise it. I think we went through a period of we just forgot our identity and were so glad that we could now go to white folks. We went crazy. And it took the Black Power movement to move it back, say, wait a minute now. We deserve to have our rights, but we don't have to stop being ourselves and building ourselves. So we need to have the balance. But you can't get a balance when you're legally put in limitations.
Thank you for clearing that up for me, Reverend.
All right, thank you for the question. It's a good question. And let me tell you something, and it's good you ask it because you'd be surprised people around the country that had the same question but don't want to ask it. Thank you for having the courage to ask it. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Ronnie in Georgia. Ronnie, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
He literally just hung up.
Oh, Ronnie's not with us. Let me go to Reverend Joe Williams in Philadelphia. Let me stay in Philly, WURD. Reverend Joe Williams.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
Reverend Joe with the Dixie Hummingbirds, the record that they made, and I was with them saying I was standing by the bedside of a neighbor who was just about to cross the chili tide. Take this message to the other side. Tell them I'm on my way. Well, I'm on my way, still fighting on this side, using this gospel music. The Wings Over Jordan went overseas during the Second World War. The State Department sent them over there to keep the soldiers from going crazy because some of them were having AWOL and committing suicide. We need that music right now, that good old gospel music now. So I'm going to do all I can do to try to get the station to at least play one record an hour or 1 week of the week, the Soul Stairs or the Dick Hummingbird, some of that good music that you know about. You know I know
Yeah.
about it.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. So
No,
I'm
and I remember that song. The lyrics you just said, "Standing by the bedside." I mean, that was my mother used to. That was in the days we had vinyl records, and my mother would play the vinyl off them records here in Dixie Hummingbirds when y'all used to sing Reverend Williams.
opportunity there, Doc. So whenever you want to do anything in New York and I need to come up there, just let me know because I'm going to die trying, and I'm an ex-Marine, and we need some sanity now. This music is driving our young people crazy. Trump is crazy, so we need some sanity. So I say we can hear that good old music right now. It would sure help.
Yeah, it would send to us back to who we are. I agree with that. We need to do something. You're going to hear from me. Reverend Joe Williams.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you for your call. Let's go to Alicia in Seattle, Washington. Alicia.
Good morning.
Morning.
Al Sharpton. It's a pleasure to talk with you. I just wanted to ask one question. And I'm trying to form my thought right now. And I'm sure that a lot of other people have this same question. Because immigration is not something new. I remember immigration way back when the Asians from Vietnam migrated to the United States. But I've noticed the more resources that immigrants receive in this country, it seems like the worst black people, our condition gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, how do you come to that conclusion? Immigrants come here. Wait a minute. Immigrants come here, and because I hear people say this all the time, and there's no facts to back that up. They don't give immigrants more than they give us. You got immigrants that do jobs we won't do. You get some initial aid that immigrants get, but they don't give immigrants more than us. When did that happen?
But who was doing these jobs?
No. Answer my question. You've raised the point. I'm asking you a question.
Okay. I've noticed, I have first-hand knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
The new wave of immigrants, they have all kind of houses, all kind of resources.
Yeah, but did they give them houses? Did they give them houses?
Pardon?
They didn't give them houses.
There's resources available to them that are not available to black people.
Okay, thank you for your call. You always call making accusations, and when I ask you to back them up, you never can back them up. Many of the immigrants you talking about are from Africa and Haiti and the Barbados and other places. So let us not fall into the divide and conquer game. These people are white supremacists against anybody. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
What do you see there, Marcus L?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. There is 1.
What do you see there, Marcus L?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. There is 1.
I have a dream today.
I had a thought this morning that I wanted to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors, but there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones. And too many mentees want their mentors to put them on a pedestal. Oh, so-and-so didn't do this for me. Oh, so-and-so didn't open doors for me. If they got to open doors for you, it may mean that they knew you weren't ready to go through those doors. Their job is to prepare you. Your job is to develop your own skills, your own unique ways. And I don't care if it's my daughters, who both have come into their own, or anyone else. I'm not a talent agent. I did not form National Action Network to give people their step up. I formed it to fight for justice for everybody. If talented people get in, it's my job to invest and give them a platform. It's their job to get on the platform and perform and show their ability. Sitting with me today in the office as I talk about it is one of my mentees, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Now, Stephen, you just came around us when you were how old?
11 years old.
11 years old. You just turned 40 and now you're called to the ministry?
Yes, sir.
And what do you do in National Action Network?
I help formulate policies, lead in various regions, but most importantly, I senior advisor to you on all things from social justice strategies, politics, intergovernmental affairs, you name it, community organizing, all of that stuff.
And I could go through scores of others. My daughter started Huddle. They got Huddles now, which is for young people to meet once a week all over the country. I just saw the video from the Las Vegas National Action Network chapter. Now, when you decided to preach, did I ever tell you to become a preacher?
Not one time.
Who called you to preach?
The Lord.
All right. And did I say go to this school or that school?
No, sir.
Did I open this door, that door? Did I tell you be ready when the doors open?
Always be ready and prepared.
And that's what I'm saying. get you some young people than you that you can help along the way. But don't be their talent agent. Their talent must speak for themselves. And anybody that grumbles with you about so-and-so didn't do something for them, maybe it's because they didn't feel you were ready, or that they felt if they did it, you wouldn't do it on your own. But we all don't live forever. I want the next generation to speak of me, of National Action Network, and others, the way I speak of Reverend Jones and Bishop Washington and Shirley Chisholm and Reverend Jackson. But I just don't want young people to feel that somebody ought to give them the reins of leadership or give them the reins of business or whatever it is you're in. You need to learn from their journey, get the pearls of wisdom from them, but don't have them do for you, because then it means you can't do it for yourself. Look at the story. We celebrated Good Friday and Easter just a couple of weeks ago. Well, there's a message in that. I heard a preacher talk about this the other week. The thing that people forget, I want you to keep this in mind, is they crucified Jesus. Those of us that are Christian believe they hung him on a cross, maligned him, mocked him. Wasn't enough to nail him. They mocked him, saying, if you be the king of the Jews, step down and deliver yourself. Mocked him. Ridiculed him. He wanted water, they gave him vinegar. Crowned him with a crown of thorns. When they should be giving you your celebratory, they're going to give you some attacks. But the end of the story was they went and laid him in Joseph's tomb. Didn't even have a family tomb. Didn't have insurance like some of us. Laid him in a borrowed tomb. But the third morning, this is the story they tell it. The third morning, when they came to where they laid him, he wasn't there. My message is to you today that don't let them catch you where they laid you. They may kill your name. They may crucify your character. They may tell you you are nothing from nowhere, but when they come to where they laid you, let you be gone on to somewhere else. I've been called everything but a child of God. They said I'd be nothing going nowhere. They castigated us. They called us troublemakers. They called us loudmouth. And when they came to see me go to jail, I wasn't there. They can catch me on MSNBC now. They can catch me leading marches now. I serve a God that not only will go through the crucifixion, but will bring you through the resurrection. We're going to resurrect in the city. Stand up, black man. Stand up, black woman. This is our time.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join. Take your 5797, and we are joined as we are every Monday to kick off the week by the political. I'm sorry, they're handing me stuff. By our political, I think, he's more than a commentator. They keep writing that, but yeah, he's a strategist, but I think he also represents a real energetic new train of thought, and he's, of course, the founder and CEO of Blueprint Strategy, LLC, Antoine Seawright. How you doing today, Antoine?
You on the Rev? It's good to be with you on this Monday as always.
Let me ask you from your point of view, having access to some of the most powerful people in American politics, the rise of political violence. When we saw the shooting of 4 state elected officials or their spouses in Minnesota, 2 dying, and there's been this continual shooting at people, and the climate. I even denounced it when the 2 assassination attempts on President Trump. The climate here has gotten so ugly and dangerous. How do you see it, and how do you think it ought to be countered?
Rev, I think this climate of violence that has been created by Donald Trump and the MAGA extremists is something that we have to implement our own version of climate change. I think with the way we do that is those who understand the long-term implications of what this means, because it ain't no fun when the rabbit has the gun. That one day it could impact them, and they're going to have to be the ones that step up. It's not enough for Democrats to raise hell. It's not enough for Democrats to speak up and speak out. It's going to take Republicans. It's going to take those in Trump's inner circle. It's going to take those in leadership positions. It's going to take those in downstream organizations on the conservative side to step up and say, hey, this is not who we are as Americans. As patriots, and we've got to do something different. The challenge with them doing that is the fact that they have okayed and greenlit pardoning January 6th insurrectionists who stormed the Capitol, where people were hurt and lives were lost.
Give me your assessment of the No King marches all over the country. I had Randy Weingarten, one of the co-chairs, on last night. We supported it. I did several of their strategy Zoom calls, and Nan was out. They say conservatively 2.5 million people nationwide, and juxtaposition that against the sparse crowd that came out for President Trump's birthday that he called a military parade. What are the optics? What does it mean? Does it mean anything?
Well, Reb, people are probably going to not like my response to this, but I'm okay with being unapologetic with my version of the truth. I think it was a good first step, but we also know that crowd size does not matter. In the end of the day, the only crowd size that matters is the crowd size that participate at the ballot box. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people rally all across the country in the last election cycle, and that did not turn into us winning. We did not lose by a lot, but we still did not win. And the kind of people we see showing up to these rallies and crowd size are some of the same ones that are not always dependable when it comes to their vote. And so I was happy to see the organized energy take place. I was happy to see the fact that we had a response to their response, if you will, this military parade. What I am anxious about is how do we use this energy and turn it into electoral success? Because that's always the question when you organize in this manner. How do you turn this to electoral success? Because millions of people showing up at rallies is a good demonstration of energy and a good demonstration of resistance, but it does not always equal change at the ballot box. And losers do not legislate.
Let's go to the phone. Let's go to Mike in Georgia, WAOK. Mike, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rec.
Hey, Reverend Al, happy Father's Day to you.
Thank you. Same to you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Rev, my song is, I guess, going to be Curtis Mayfield, A Change is Coming. And my question, the hypocrisy of Speaker Johnson, quiet as a church mouse after the congressman made that disgusting tweet about the people being killed in Minnesota. He asked for a censure on Senator Padilla or whatever his name was, but he has not said a word about Mr. Coward Lee.
Right. No, he's not said a word about that, and I thank you for bringing that up, Mike. You are absolutely right. I tell you something else that is shameful for this shameless speaker. He said that Governor Gavin Newsom in California ought to be tarred and feathered. Now, tarred and feathered mean you strip naked and then tar put all over you. How can you talk that kind of violence? And this was 2 days before the shooting, and not incite people that are not stable to do some things. And I'm not saying Johnson directly did it, but it is that atmosphere. And it's the same thing with how do you pardon January 6 people that assaulted, physically abused law enforcement and pardon them and then tell other people to behave themselves? You just can't do it. But thank you.
Yeah, Reverend, speaking of pardon, Reverend Al, when they arrested this gentleman, he was just as calm as all day, like he knows in about 2 years Donald Trump is going to pardon him.
Wow. Interesting. All right. Thank you for your call, Mike. Let me go to Ronnie in Georgia, WAOK. Ronnie, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Good evening, Reverend Al. You know what really gets to me is that all these conservative politicians that, this one preacher want to brag about that Trump called him, and then you had Tim Scott want to brag about he has Elon Musk's number, and none of them, and you've been a civil rights leader for a while. Back in the day when Reagan and even Nixon, when they was president, you had a few blacks that could go to them and ask them for something.
That's right.
And they would say, give them what they want, give them what they need. But none of them black conservatives today, Rev, you could go to him. You could go to a Trump would love for you to come to him. Trump would love for you to cozy up to him, and you could get more than any of them could ever get from Trump. But you know what? You choose to keep your humanity, and you choose to keep your pride. And you're not going that route because you are for black people. You show it. You don't say it. You show it. With all these cuts that are happening, they ain't saying nothing. None of them. None of the so-called black congressmen, black conservatives. And this other thing that I want to bring up is about Bourbon Street Pete. Do you notice he never wear a military uniform, Rep?
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, because he don't have enough bars and stripes. Now he got a little bar that he wear on the suit, but that's to represent that he's commander over the GI Joes. That's what he's commander.
That's
over.
interesting. I
I
never noticed that, but you're right. Pete Hexas, I can't remember him ever being in uniform. You're right. And Lloyd Austin, who he succeeded, would be in uniform very often.
All the time. All the time, because he had enough bars and stripes to show. But see, that's one thing that you can't lie about. You can't be putting them insignias on your uniform because, you'll get called out by the military because you don't have that rank. And another thing, my favorite message song is by Prince, Rep, Mr. Man. You ever heard it?
Mr. Man. I probably haven't. Don't remember. All right, I'm gonna pull it up. Thank you, Ronnie, for that, and thank you for your call. And let me say something. Ronnie is right. See, right. When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, you had people like Arthur Fletcher, even Colin Powell. That were the Republicans, and they would go in and advocate. Say, wait a minute, you may not want to do these 10 things, but you should do 5. They're right about that. These blacks, so far, Tim Scott and them that I've seen around Trump, they think their job is to lecture us, not to go in there and lecture him. There were black Republicans since the Emancipation Proclamation who said, we're going in to see the president. He's our president. We may look and have different tactics, but he needs to do something. This is where you got all of them feel they assigned to us to tell us what Trump's saying and that Trump is right. And that's the difference between the black Republicans of the past and the ones now.
Well, Reb, don't necessarily care about some of these folks' party per se, but I care about their print. And what I say about their print is how they leave their footprint in the sand. And I say this all the time about Tim Scott, my home senator from South Carolina. You can disagree with me on, 85, 90% of the things from a political standpoint. That's fine. But when it comes to policy, things that your people stand for, voting rights, SNAP benefits, and all these other things, some of those things should be non-negotiable when it comes to what you're standing up for and what you're fighting for. And I believe that the other side will give him a pass. People like him a pass, because guess what? We've seen Republicans lose in spite of them standing up for things that we know go against the grain when it comes to their own community. And we've seen other folks win because they decided to take a stand. And so there's a model for doing the right thing and worrying about your print instead of your party.
Let me go to message board. Georgia Daniel says crowd size doesn't make a lot of difference at the ballot box if Democrats don't change their messaging in the media arena. The message needs to hit hard on what is happening now with the deportations and murdering of political rivals. It should also include that any one of us could be next. The plan of the convicted felon and his cronies is known and transparent, and the Democratic messaging needs to focus on what we want as Americans. Georgia Daniel, I'm going to break on that one. Let's take the break. We'll be right back, keeping it real. Sharpton. See right. Be right back.
Dear God, we honor you and thank you for giving us great servant in Charles Brown. And as he lays here in City Hall, a city that he changed, a nation that he saved, let his family have comfort in knowing that few will go down in history that has done more for so many and did it sometimes against great odds, sometimes against great criticism, but he kept going anyhow. We ask you, Lord, to give them the peace of knowing that when he was not there with them physically, he always loved them individually, and that love they should continue to comfort them at this hour of loss and this hour of transition. And we know that he is now reunited with them, and that they are at peace, and that we should behave in a way that will make them proud. None of us would be where we are if it wasn't for Charlie Ray and Alma. We should never disgrace them. It is great that he lays here in state so that children can see. He had a great man, and brought many of us into great things. And let, after all the ceremonies are over, that we stay close with this family, even when the days of funeral and services are over, that they know that we owe them, because they gave so much of the time to us. These blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
What do you see there, Marcus L?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. Third one.
What do you see there, Marcus L?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. Third one.
What do you see there, Marcus?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
Stop telling yourself you're not confident of what you could do. When people with half your skills and a quarter of your talent have gone on to create big waves in life, if you look at them and you know you're more gifted than them, then what is your problem? You are looking for someone to come and drag you into success. You've got to use what you have, which is, in my judgment, more skillful than others I've known in your area. Use that and believe in that, and your confidence will build up as you get going and start doing. And don't chase the spotlight. Sharpen your skills. Live in your purpose. And you'll get so good the spotlight will be chasing you. Be so good they can't help but talk about you and put the spotlight on you. You don't get your energy from chasing the spotlight. You get your energy by chasing your purpose. The spotlight and other adulation will come with it. Have a great day. Stop going through your life like you are a co-star or a bit player in your own drama. No, you are the main star. You're the central figure in your life. What you decide is what is the major thrust of your life. And others may contribute, impact, affect, but it's your life that you're central in. So stop trying to lay the weight of what you do or don't do on others. That weight is squarely on your shoulders and in your hand. And if you want to defer and give your life choices to others, that's on you. If they have any sense at all, they will be so busy trying to conduct and properly guide their life, they will not have time to try to major in your life. You got to be the new thing. This is not about likes on Facebook. This is about changes in our society. We got a hostile bigot in the White House, and we don't need a popularity contest. We need people that are grounded and rooted in this and gonna fight with all they got. Jesus went up on the mountain and told his disciples. Reverend Toon says, y'all pray with me. They went to sleep. And when they looked up, they say that he had gone up on the mountain. They termed transfiguration. Is that in the book? And he was talking to Moses and Elijah. If Jesus had to talk to those that preceded him, then how you so brilliant you ain't got to talk to nobody? So as we embark on dealing with this DEI fight, I wanted to read, I studied all week, what would Dr. King be saying? What would Reverend Jackson be saying? That's what we do. This ain't a Sharpton thing or whoever thing. This is a thing in continuity. If Dr. King can shut down the Montgomery bus boycott when we couldn't even ride the front of the bus, if Jesse Jackson could take on major corporations before we had cell phones, then we in our day can take these companies that want to say no DEI and shut them down because we come out of a tradition and a lineage that can do that. Let me go to my Ace Boone Coon in Chicago, Illinois, on the west side. He says is the best side. I'm talking, of course, about Frank from the west side. Frank?
Yes, sir. Reed, my good brother. How you and Brother Antoine doing today?
I'm doing great.
Doing fine. Yes, you are, brother. I've been listening every week, every day. Had a little phone problem for the past week or so, baby. Now that's why I've been like missing in action. So I got like 3 weeks to catch up to do, and I'm not going to even try to do it on one phone call.
All right.
Okay? I gave my condolences to our brother who answers the phone regularly, who was pretty experienced, so he can handle the job involved. On his loss in his family, he just told me, I said, wow, I knew it was someone new because they would open the phone up and said they get right back, but they never come back, Rev, and get the information who it is calling and where they're from. So I knew it was someone new. We pretty busy, so I kept it open all, not this last Monday, but the Friday it started, Exhale Friday. When I called back in Monday, same thing, and I didn't hang on this time. I didn't. So I sent a text message to you over the Facebook message. I'm pretty sure it got to you. So I tried again today. So I decided to hang on today, and I don't know what's going on. I ain't mad at nobody though. But hey, no one can be as you got someone that's experienced, like you said, Reverend Al, on Hardball, on Chris Matthew. Let us not get confused. Someone with a job with someone with most experience. Okay. We all know what that means. You've been a political activist since you were 12 years old. You've been a civil rights activist for over 30 years. You know what I'm saying? You remember that show you did right now when you overwhelmed that audience and captivated everyone? So basically some of the same thing. The one who take the calls a day, he has experience. He's been on the job. The one who's there, when the whole, I'm pretty sure I wasn't the only one who's there. He ain't had no experience. He couldn't handle the judge involved the way the man today can. The man today is a man. He's the man with these phones. But anyway, let me get going. Reverend, now, I'm just going to go on and just do a little piece. Like I said, I haven't called in 2 weeks. I'm just gonna say, you know what I'm saying, just like this on past what I miss out on our culture as was going on. You see what's happened with Job Corps.
Right.
See what we did in the segment we was doing when did y'all know this? These all the programs at Social Security. Okay? I listened to Lisa conversation with you earlier, and I'm gonna say what you was zeroing in on, 100% right. But you notice, Elisa, what Donald Trump is going after, like he just wiped out she talking about, one of the things she talking about is a disadvantaged minority program in which these foreigners can come over here and get access to resources that we didn't have. But understand this though, we did have access to them. Trump went out to attack, it's no longer there. We was getting 25% of those contracts, of those resources to start our own business. Also, in Elisa's offense, in Elisa's defense, here in Chicago, right now, what she said about resources being taken from us and given to them, when we was out, how they did, that's exactly what took place here in Chicago. And I don't know how it is all over the rest of the country, where these immigrants or migrants got sent by these Republican governors, but in Chicago, everything Lawyer Lightfoot put in place and put in gear that would greatly benefit the black people more than anyone else, Reverend Al, all the way from the...
Wait a minute. Hold 1 minute, because I want you to make this point. Hold 1 minute. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Sharpton, see right. 1-877-532-5797. Be right back. You know what I'm saying?
Country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say this song. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Get up. God has smiled on me. He's been good. Then I went on backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song, and I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 come smile on me. Now then the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say, God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Great Powell said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Lord, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God it was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith and refuse to lose, and God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me. He has set me
free. 1-877-532-5797. Antoine Seawright is our co-host. Let's go right back to Chicago to our Frank on the west side. Go ahead, Frank.
Oh, yes, thank you. And I got two more things I just want to touch on, with this being one of them. Here in Chicago, right now, but Antoine, everyone else, what Alicia was saying, that's exactly what took place. Now, I don't know about the rest of the country, I don't know about the rest of the states, the cities, where these immigrants got sent to, but we got living proof here that even with the Ukraine, Reverend Al, everything Lori Light will put in place that greatly benefit from the ComEd plant over on the west side, high number of locals, all the way over to $200 million finally not in the budget for the homeless. The streets were clear to the homeless. And this was mainly benefiting black people. The program for newly released people, housing, job training, healthcare, the whole 9 yards, job placement, all the way over to Invest Southwest. And we had 2 neighborhoods that she had laid out blocks when I was a kid, was all black-owned business. She said that's going to go back to the, she had the resources already allocated. The only thing that didn't get wiped out and taken away and given to these immigrants was the extension of the red line from 95th Street, now it's going out to 105th, because that had already been set in contract and earmarked, the money is already there. But the resource, she said she's not just going to just sit at red line, she's going to allocate resources to rebuild that entire community out there with park enhancement, youth center enhancement, mental institution, black-owned business, all that money is gone. All that's gone. Okay, Invest Southwest, that's the first thing to leave. When the Ukrainians came over here and the Afghans came over here, because what was going on with them, you saw none of them on public transportation. None of them sitting on bus stop waiting for, no. They all was given houses, universal basic guaranteed income, health care, and transportation or access to transportation. Okay? So she didn't have all eyes out and T's crossed, so I'm going to do it for her. But that does not mean, you know what I'm saying, that this is all about the immigrant, what Donald Trump doing, attacking. The main things he is attacking and tearing down are the things that are most beneficial to black people, Alicia. Okay? So it wasn't all just going to immigrants, my sister. He's attacking because we were in on all of that. On all of that.
And see, no, I think what is important to what you're saying, and that's why I said what I said to Alicia, is that we can accurately talk about what black people are not getting from the government, from Trump, but don't act like that they're giving it to them. They're giving it to others in the white community. Do you think for 1 minute,
that's right,
and Antoine, you should weigh in on this, you think for 1 minute that these whites that put him in office would sit by and let him give these people from overseas all this money? That ain't gonna happen.
Right.
I mean, we can say we're not getting our share, but don't let them have us played against each other because the immigrants ain't taking our money. There's no way them Republicans in the Congress and all would stand for them to be doing that. That's not going to happen.
That's right. There you go. There you go. And Red, last thing, people, this thing that went on with Netanyahu in Iran, this is not a Netanyahu thing, okay, attacking Iran the way he did. This is an all of Israel thing. If you read the documentary, Iran has vowed, going all the way back to the 70s, if they ever get nuclear weapons, just what's going on with that, y'all. Netanyahu did the right thing. If they ever get nuclear weapons arsenal, they are going to destroy Israel, all of Israel, totally wipe it out. This is what their plan is. They figure this will cause a chain reaction, a nuclear holocaust all over the world. This comes from their leaders. Ayatollah Khomeini himself. They released all of them. This will trigger, they hope to trigger a holocaust, a nuclear war all over the world that will bring mankind to the brink of destruction. Before God let that happen, God will send back Christ. Well, they even know Christ is coming back. But their version is he's going to establish a war order, put a stop to all of this, and have peace all over the world. Okay? Their version of Christ. They know Christ is coming back. Okay? So once again, people, we got men trying to force the hand of God. Okay? They're trying to speed up the return of Christ. This is what Judas was doing when Judas betrayed Christ. You think Judas betrayed Christ for 30 pieces of silver? Think again. Judas knew who Christ was. He saw the power of the Holy Spirit. Judas betrayed Christ thinking that Christ would never allow the Romans to crucify him. Instead, he would bring down the wrath of God on the Romans, which would free the Jewish community, the Jewish people, from the Roman rule. That was the plan. Okay? So once again, I can go with a couple more other. This is man trying to force the hand of God, but God gonna do things at his pace. He used you to bring forth the prophecy that Isaiah had prophesied over 700 years ago, before Christ came. This pure man is going to be nailed to a tree and beaten to the point he won't even look like there was a man up there, just a lump of flesh. Y'all saw the Passion of Christ, how bad he was beaten? Well, the prophet Isaiah said he was beaten worse than that. You couldn't even recognize that was once a man. But no bone was broken. All that was shown. I done said enough, so don't get too down. Don't think I'm pro Netanyahu. I'm pro Israel. Everyone know God said when I reestablish Israel as a nation, any nation that rise up and attacks Israel, I'm going to destroy it. And he has done that. Ask, what's his name? Hitler. Hitler tried to keep, Hitler believed it. He tried to keep the Jewish nation from being established. That's why he tried to wipe him out. His regime, him, destroyed. Saddam Hussein launched Scud missiles at Israel, trying to bring them to the war, the first Gulf War. Saddam Hussein destroyed. Okay? Read the scriptures and know what's going on before you put down Israel too much. America is going to always stand on the side of Israel. They had always had part of history. They had bad leaders, but the people themselves, those are God.
Yeah, well, Netanyahu, and I thank you for your call. Netanyahu is you're right, different than Israel. I've always said a two-state solution, but we also got to deal with who are the Israelites out of the Bible. That's a whole nother show, because a lot of them over there are not that. A lot of them are. And thank you for your call. Let me, Antoine, let me read some of the messages. Maureen Forte says, blessings, Rev. Nan, Chicago, missed you at the push luncheon. Yeah, my plane landed an hour late, and when I called, Yusef said that the luncheon was over. So I went on and met with the mayor, Maureen, and in fact, Reverend Jackson, remember, they brought him down, and you can go on the Instagram and see pictures. We had a good meeting with the mayor where I'm standing per your instructions, Maureen Forte, with the mayor against the Justice Department saying that he was using DEI for employing black people disproportionately. When he went to Reverend Bishop Brazier's church, Antoine, in a town hall and broke down, well, a third of the city has black employees, a third white, third Latino, and others, and that is what the population indicates. They twisted that into saying he was being bigoted against whites, which is not at all what he was saying.
Mhm.
He was dealing with the demographics of the city, as well as therefore the employment of the city reflects that. And so I wanted to show some national support for him, and thankfully Reverend Jackson got down there with me, and then I headed back to the airport and came right back. But Maureen Forte is my rock in a weary land out there in Chicago. I wanted her to know that. And Evangelist Ramsey, another rock. I'm talking about a real strong rock here in New York. She says, got my tickets last Saturday after the meeting. She's talking about the Saturday meeting for the play with your daughter, Dominique Sharpton, Sunset Boulevard, which she co-hosts, winning her first Tony Award. I will see it this Saturday right after the NAN meeting. Thank you, Evangelist Ramsey. My daughter and her partner won a Tony Award as executive producers for Sunset Boulevard. Their second play, they did the executive producer for Alicia Keys' play as well. And so me and her son is just waiting to get our cut of this Tony Award money. You're supposed to get more money, right? When you get Tonys, you know, me and her son gonna have to have a little meeting with her, little family meeting. Dominique, you know, everybody loved Dominique. I'm gonna see how much she loves us now that she's a Tony Award winner. But get into that issue for me, Antoine, about how they're going after black mayors like Brandon Johnson, like Karen Bass, all over the country, that if you don't bow to their will, they try to stick the Justice Department on you.
Well, Rev, it's a divide and conquer strategy, and it's an age-old strategy. And the reason I say divide and conquer, because part of this is they want to pit black people against some of these black mayors and act as if they're doing something wrong or they're not standing up for the values or the things they campaign on. And it's easy to demonize them on the Republican side because they just feel like they're in the job because of their black, i.e. DEI. And so this is a big divide and conquer strategy. This is also race baiting because if you look at it, you don't see them on the attack in the same way with some of these big city white mayors who happen to be Democrats. And just today, I just heard that ICE was downtown Cleveland trying to make another play. And so we see this, but Trump also promised this. This is also another page from the Project 2025 playbook. So what we have to do, Rev, I think, is upload and download in terms of our support for these mayors because many of them are up for re-election. And the part of the larger strategy is to demonize them now. So November, people will either stay home or there'll be some outpouring of support to vote against them in the next election. So we've got to be careful and monitor this thing very closely.
Yeah, I think that's right, which is why I stay on the air every day. I do this show 5 times a week and do a Sunday morning FM show and our rallies on Saturday on radio, Black Radio and Sirius and live stream. So I'm on the air 7 days a week trying to knock down some of this misinformation because, and that's not even mentioned in my TV show, because they are flooding the zone and we got to flood back. People really think that. That's why I got to call her right away and said, wait a minute, let me call you on that. Because people hear, I heard on Al Sharpton's show, they're giving all the money to the immigrants they should give to us. No, that's not true. That's what causes people not to vote. That's what causes people to get disillusioned. But if you don't have the right people sitting in the chair hosting these things, or people like you organizing around these things, people are not into politics or into voting or into movements like we are. They hear one thing and just go about their business, but it sticks with them. You got to knock that down quickly because that's how Trump became president, using slogans, no content, and people believe it.
And Red, let me also say the online bad actors will take our vulnerabilities and use them against us.
Right.
For an example, some of the misinformation that you mentioned as relates to the mayor of Chicago and even some of our other mayors, you know what happens? Russia, Iran, North Korea, China, and some of these right-wing organizations, they will pump content to low information voters, low frequency, low priority voters about some of these things and flood the zone even more and have an even larger amplification and try to make a problem that does not exist. But if you don't have a mechanism to push back and surround and drown that fire is going to spread and it's going to burn up a lot of good territory.
Which is why you have less black radio now than you had 20 years ago. Because if they can cut you off from communicating, then they're cutting off the information, and without the information, people will not know what to do. That's why, I can not do 7 days a week radio and 3 or 4 days a week on TV, but I always ask myself, if I don't do it, it's not like they're going to book somebody else from our community to do it or to do it right. So you got to use whatever opening you get, and that's what they do. Information is powerful. Why do you think Donald Trump and them, the first thing they did was go get an Elon Musk that bought up all the social media? They got Fox News and built that up. I remember when Fox started, it wasn't nothing. Now it's the dominant cable station. And they understand messaging to their people and media. We still act like, well, I talked to Ann next door and we talking about whether we going to vote. We got to address millions with the right information.
And Rev, let me just say, I know we got to go to break, but they are consistent and relentless with their information.
No doubt about it.
Of power. That's the one lesson we've got to learn.
Consistent and persistent. Be right back. Sharpton, C. Wright, 1-877-532-5797. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you are born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They call me everything but a child of God.
Racial discord, a blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I
a race
had to
baiter.
learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old. With the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. He didn't just We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
No justice, no justice, no justice. What do we want? What do we want?
We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like our God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom. Let my people go, go. We gonna shine and we shade. Give me a papa glory, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children.
Said, did you hear about what happened in Minneapolis? I said, I saw it on television. It was in the middle of a pandemic. We were all locked down, couldn't go anywhere. And just watched the news over and over again. And he said, the family would like to speak with him. He connected Philonis Floyd and one of George's brothers, carrying on with Keepin and other members, Victoria, all of the families, many of the family members. And he said they'd like you to go to Minneapolis and protest what happened and also say that we are not a family that condone violence, but some people were burning stuff down. In the middle of a pandemic, it's important that you know that people from all over, Black America, white America, all people came together to stand with this family. But I promised them that we would be there to the end. 5 years later, some people are missing, but I had to be here. And I'll be here as long as it takes to be This week, we saw some change over the years. We did not get the George Floyd justice bill, but we got consent decree in Minneapolis, where he was killed, and in Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was killed. This week, the Department of Justice under Donald Trump said they were going to end this consent decree, which is tantamount to the Department of Justice and the President spitting on the grave. To wait to the anniversary and announce this, knowing this family was going to be brought back to the brokenheartedness of what happened, shows the disregard and insensitivity.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program. Antoine McCrae We need is you our to be part co-host. of the movement. Let's go back to the phone. Let me go to Demetrius in Cleveland, Ohio. Demetrius, you're keeping it real with Sharpton and C-Rack.
Hey, thank you very much, Sharpton. Good to talk to you, Mr. C-Rack. Just a few topics I want to speak on. Concerning the legislatures who got killed in Minnesota. I believe they should be punished all the way to the measure of the law. And also, like you said, the Congress people and others who use that unresponsible talk, that rhetoric, they cause people to go out and perform those type of tasks. They really jeopardizing safety of the legislature and of the democracy. Because you have the legislature scared to vote on certain policies because they feel like their life's going to be threatened. That's intimidating the whole voting process. Because in a way, what's the use of people voting for legislatures? The legislature's not going to vote in their interests because they're afraid for their lives.
Right.
That leading the country toward a dictatorship, a one-party country. It won't be the United States no more. It'll be like a country that's being overthrown by a military. They have the strict rules. It won't be the United States no more. So people that really take this seriously, and those who use that loose talk, it should be equalized to treason, trying to overthrow the government. And also, when it comes to the countries that's being banned, on the ban list by the United States, to me, it's unequal because you have countries like China, Israel, and Russia. They've been known to send spies to the United States, to find out information. But those countries is not on the ban list. Yet some of the other countries, they haven't had any past history that seriously threatened America. Yet those countries on the ban list mainly because of their former government, what some people in Washington don't approve of, or the corporations. And lastly, concerning the situation with Iran and Israel, I believe, with Israel bombing Iran, to me it might be a disguise to cover up what's going on in Gaza, to keep your eyes off of the citizens in Gaza being murdered. And also it's an attempt to try to push Iran to a negotiating table for Donald Trump and to benefit Israel. But to me, bombing Iran not going to push them to the table. It's going to push them more to want to arm and have a nuclear weapon because they feel threatened. Because I believe, when they say Iran want to eliminate Israel from off the map, because Israel has been a pawn of those who want to overthrow Iran. So their idea feel like this self-preservation, because Israel do have a history, overthrowing governments that they feel is not that's going to hurt them, or in cahoots with other countries, and the United States is really bagging Israel because some of the countries that's not friendly to the United States, Israel and the United States want to come together and try to change those governments or somehow destabilize those governments. So I don't believe it's not that Iran said they want to eliminate Israel because of their religion, right? Because, Jews and Muslims and Christians have been living together in that part of the world for thousands of years. They had no problem. The problem can come along when you have other countries from the outside who want to exploit their resources. I don't think it's not a religious problem. It's more of countries on the outside trying to take advantage of those countries. That's why they have.
Well, and see, I think that a lot of that exploitation, and Antoine, you need to weigh in on this, is why we need to have the political power, because when you deal with all of these countries, for example, in Africa, Middle East, Caribbean, they all are seeking trade and aid. It's depending on the country. With the United States, when we had Andrew Young as UN ambassador, and when we had others in the State Department, even Colin Powell, Bush gave certain amount of aid to Africa, a certain amount. All of that was Colin Powell and them pushing them. You are now in an administration that openly says, I'm not doing nothing for any country of color, calls them names, calls them S-hole countries, and is absolutely cutting off any kind of back and forward. Has the president of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, sits there and tries to humiliate him, saying, y'all got white genocide in South Africa when there's no true. Even Fox News can't come up with a camera crew to find some white genocide. So we need to be real clear on where we are. And we're the only Africans in the world that can vote about it that would effectively change us. They can vote in Africa, but they can't vote on U.S. policy. But we can, if we would. Antoine?
Reb, you know, the great Bill Clay, Lacey Clay's father, founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, used to always say that losers don't legislate, or you cannot govern if you do not win. Policy matters, and policy only changes when we win. We only win and we only make change when we vote. If we would have the majority right now, your friend and my friend Greg Meeks would be chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee in the United States Congress. That matters. That matters. All the progress we made under the Biden-Harris administration in terms of investments in Africa, prioritizing Africa, and all these other foreign countries that have traditionally been left out, all that was wiped away in January earlier this year when Trump was winning to office. And arguably, we've gone even further backwards as a result of Trump being in office and the deprioritization of these efforts.
Right. All right. Thank you, Demetrius. Let me go to Andre in Atlanta, Georgia. Andre, you keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Reverend and Mr. Seawright.
Good afternoon.
It is always a good thing when law enforcement is able to apprehend someone who commits the most violent of crimes upon our society. I used to live in Minneapolis, and I still have friends there. So today, I'm feeling a very personal sigh of relief for that city and that state that a cold-blooded killer who appears to have made plans to kill others has been captured. Now, having said that, and I suspect that I'll probably be criticized for expressing what I'm about to say as being too soon after the loss of life, and so be it if that's the case. But when I first heard this morning that the Minnesota murder suspect had been captured, my immediate thought was, I want to see the arrest video, the police body cam video of the arrest. I want to see whether this white murder suspect who police suspect of committing 2 murders and suspect of attempting 2 other murders, and who police had every reason to believe was still armed when they located him. I want to see whether the arrest video shows the police gang tackling this white murder suspect and putting him in a chokehold the way they do to a black man who is accused of selling individual cigarettes on a sidewalk. I heard that once the police had him cornered, that at some point they had him crawl towards them. But I want to see whether the police video shows any of the dozens of law enforcement officers forcing this white murder suspect to lie face down on the ground and placing their knee on this white murder suspect's neck the way they do to a black man who is accused of passing a fake $20 bill. A white man who is accused of killing people versus a black man who is accused of selling loose cigarettes, or a black man who is accused of passing a fake $20 bill. I want to see the police video of this arrest in Minnesota so that I can see which of those incidents the police handled most aggressively. An armed white man accused of 2 murders, or a black man accused of selling cigarettes on the sidewalk, or a black man accused of passing a fake $20 bill. I want to see the arrest video. And let me also say that I do hear and appreciate the calls for this nation to have a kumbaya moment, something that we always hear whenever politically motivated tragedy strikes us in this country. Kumbaya is a great concept. But I'm here to tell you, kumbaya works only if both sides are seeking truth.
Yeah.
And we have a political party in this country led by Donald Trump that is not seeking truth, but instead seeks to manipulate truth in order to fulfill a racist agenda. If you want kumbaya from me, if you want me to quote-unquote find common ground with the racist extremists who exist in MAGA world, hi, Stephen Miller, then someone needs to explain to me how I do that with a group of people who characterize the beating of police officers with flagpoles as being just another tourist state. Sharpton, keeping it real. Thank you.
You always do, Andre. Thank you for your call. Thank you, Antoine Searad. I think you got to step off early this week. We appreciate you spending the time. Let's take a break. We will be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton right after this.
If you understand what faith is, you know, I'm a minister. Faith in the Bible is faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence of things unseen. If you could figure it out, if you have a guaranteed result, if you have a planned strategic course that won't fail, that's not faith. Faith is when you can't figure it out, but you know it's right, and you're going to do it anyhow. Even if you risk losing, even if you risk ridicule, that's faith. And that is what has been the basis of my activism, is faith. That I believe if you do what's right, it will end up right. So, I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. My mother was from Dothan, Alabama. Father was from somewhere near Daytona Beach, Florida. Wabassin, I think was the name of the town. They grew up in rigid segregation. They couldn't vote, had to sit in the back of the bus. They came north as part of the migration, thinking they'd find a better way up north. They didn't know each other, of course, met in New York, got married, had 2 kids. I was the youngest kid. Their youngest son lived to be one that sat on the stage when the first black president was elected. To go in one generation, from them not being able to vote, till 2 generations later, their son is working with President Obama, gives me faith. Because they could have said in Alabama, this will never change. It did. It did because people didn't accept it. And just as I told my mother, if I was an angel and had flown down to Dothan, Alabama in 1950 or whatever year she moved north, and told her there's going to be a black president one day, she would say I was crazy. You got to be able to see what's not apparently there and make it happen.
I'm Connor Webb. I'm the Speakers Director of the Yale College Democrats. We were so fortunate to have Reverend Sharpton here to join us this evening in New Haven to talk about the cruelty and the iniquity that we have seen celebrated under the second Trump administration, what we're meant to do about it as journalists and as press professionals and as citizens. So we were just so grateful to have him this evening.
You got to be the new thing. This is not about likes on Facebook. This is about changes in our society. We got a hostile bigot in the White House, and we don't need a popularity contest. We need people that are grounded and rooted in this and gonna fight with all they got. Jesus went up on the mountain and told his disciples, Reverend Toon says, y'all pray with me. They went to sleep. And when they looked up, they say that he had gone up on the mountain. They termed transfiguration. Is that in the book? And he was talking to Moses and Elijah. If Jesus had to talk to those that preceded him, then how you so brilliant you ain't got to talk to nobody? So as we embark on dealing with this DEI fight, I wanted to read, I studied all week. What would Dr. King be saying? What would Reverend Jackson be saying? That's what we do. This ain't a Sharpton thing or whoever thing. This is a thing in continuity. If Dr. King can shut down the Montgomery bus boycott when we couldn't even ride the front of the bus. If Jesse Jackson could take on major corporations before we had cell phones, then we in our day can take these companies that want to say no DEI and shut them down, because we come out of a tradition and a lineage that can do that. One year ago and change, 67 weeks ago, we started marching every Thursday, am I right, on the offices of Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman was the architect of ending DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion. He started it. I want to give a little history because a lot of people get Negroitis and get confusion. I don't even mind your ego. Everybody need one, but you don't have to become contrary and duplicitous. We got to have integrity even among those with ego. So we started when they first came out against DEI. Now Ackman and them started it going to Harvard University, forcing out the first black woman and first black president of Harvard. We went to his office and been going 67 weeks. I went first 10, 12 weeks. And this brother, stand up, Reverend Ron McHenry, coordinator House of Justice. This brother has been there every week. Many of you here in the audience have marched every week. So we didn't just get in this. We were in it the day they came at Claudine Guy. Last year's convention, we dealt with DEI. This year we said that we're going at these corporations that had come out against DEI. Many of you, most of y'all I'm looking at was at the convention. And we hit Pepsi. Pepsi called and said, all right, we 8-9 days in, we agree to meet. And we went, purchased New York. Chairman of our board, Reverend Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, and Carol Wallace, who's a special advisor to us on finance, and laid out to them that one, we don't care what you call it, DEI, IED. Y'all are gonna keep your commitments in terms of the black community. And that means we don't want special privilege, but we do not want to be specially excluded. This is not about we don't want merit. We feel if our people are at the table, we can beat anybody on merit in many cases. So we want from employment to your board, to how you deal with marketing, to who does your financial investment. We want to go across the board with that. Otherwise, if you don't want to deal with the question of diversity in how you do your business, then don't deal with diversity in your consumer base, because you don't believe in diversity. So we just will try to remove all the dollars we can from buying your stuff. In fact, I told the chairman, remember the chairman of the board, remember the CEO, I said, in fact, I learned that not from growing up civil rights, I learned that from Donald Trump. I said, what do you mean? I said, Donald Trump said he's gonna redo tariffs, that if he doesn't get what he wants for the country, they were gonna raise the tariffs. I'm doing the black tariff reverse. If we don't get what we want, I mean, y'all can't be for Trump and tariff and not be for us in the African American community with a tariff. Texas. Leon, you're keeping it real with Sharpton.
Good afternoon, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, you hit on some things that I probably don't have time to talk about all of, but one of the things I wanted to mention was you said something about the communication medium. And, we talked about this before. I said you need your own TV network because the information that you disseminate now is probably not going to be put out there in the public forum the way you would do it any other way. So,
right.
I'm still hoping that you get a chance to come down this part of the country. I can discuss some technical things with you, and maybe you'll see, a way forward.
Right.
I originally called to talk about the dismantling of USAID, and I was appalled when I saw a segment where the reporter did a deep dive in the effects of what USAID was having on Africa, the dismantling of it. And it's just like, well, you don't put the machine gun to the head of your enemy. You just take all his bullets so he can't fight back.
Right.
So it's going to contribute to the death of millions of Africans because AIDS is still a prominent killer in Africa, and USAID was playing an instrumental role in distributing the retrovirals and antivirals or whatever the technical name is for those anti-AIDS drugs that was keeping those people alive.
Right. That's a fact.
So when you combine that with the ban on these countries, well, we'll just take their medicine and force them to stay there. They can't come over here, so that'll indirectly eliminate millions of them. So I hope the general public understands the ramifications of some of this stuff that Trump's doing is real. You were mentioning about who was a real Jew. Well, if you do your research, I don't know what that was.
Yeah, that was
research.
Mm-hmm.
If you do your research, you will find that the real Jews were Hebrews, and there is such a thing as being a Jew by lineage and being a Jew by adoption.
Mm-hmm.
They're two different things. So you can be a Jew by adoption and not necessarily be having a Hebrew in your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So when you think about, well, who are the real Jews? Well, you just do a genetic test, and you go through your archaeology and anthropology, and you will find out that the original Jews, Jesus Christ, born in Bethlehem in Judea, was a person of color. And are you seeing that when you see those people now? No. So there's questions that abound when you talk about is this your real country? And since Judea was in Palestine. So there's a lot of stuff going on that people who are making opinions are not doing their research on.
And let me say this, and let me say this, and certainly, as I said, before sometime late July, early August, before we get to the march, I'm coming through West Palm Beach because I promised that I'm going to stop there to start what we're doing with education, and I'm coming to Dallas, so you don't have to keep worrying about it. I'm coming sometime between late July and August. All right, now, in terms of this whole genealogy debate, I think that it's an honest, legitimate debate, but it needs to be on all sides, because just like there are some scholars that question some in Israel, not all, there's some that question some that are in some of the Arab countries that they're not of that lineage either. So you got a whole conundrum in the Middle East. And one of the reasons why, when I went over and met with both Arafat and with the Israeli Prime Minister at that time, who has since passed, Perez, My thing was that I was saying to the Israelis that they need to deal with a fair policy in Gaza. But I was also saying to the Arab world, y'all are enslaving some of our people in Sudan. I mean, let's tell the whole story. And what I get a problem with even some callers, is we think it is politically correct to attack one side. The fact that they were killing people and still are in Sudan is, and these are our people. And those are not people in Israel. Those are some of the Arab countries that are doing that. And we need to deal with that too. So it's on both sides of this.
Right. And that gets back to the other point I had brought up several calls ago. We need to stop stabbing each other in the back.
That's right.
They're stabbing us in the front, in the chest, like the Talia Scaramucci says, and then we stab each other in the back.
Right.
So we would be a lot further along toward equality, prosperity, or equity, or whatever you want to call it, if we stop stabbing each other in the back.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, all right, Leon, thank you for your call. Let me go to Andre J in Chicago. Andre J, you're keeping it real with Al Sharpton. You may run up on the break. I'll hold you over, but go ahead and get started. Is he there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm still here, Real.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I heard you mention earlier about Mike Johnson. I think Mike Johnson is a hypocrite. You know, Liz Cheney told us what he was about, and Mike Johnson is the one that filed an amicus brief. Now, if he'd have been successful with the amicus brief, it would have disenfranchised a whole lot of black folks, millions of black folk votes, if he would have went along with that election being overthrown, because he filed on papers, and he was for that.
Now, to explain to people when you say he filed that amicus brief, what amicus brief? What did it represent?
The amicus brief was that he supported in Texas that he supported that to deny those what do you call the electoral college votes for Joe Biden.
Right.
That's what he filed amicus brief to deny that. And if that would have went through it, all those millions of black folks that voted, our votes would have been out, and that would have been a civil rights violation to do that, because the election was not stolen. It was an honest election. Well, I wanted to say about my Governor Pritzker. I watched the hearings with the Pritzker and those what the Republicans did. Now, what bothers me about the Democrats is I've never seen one of them stand up. It seems like when the Democrats go before them hearings, they lose their manhood. They should have stood up and said, listen, if you ask me a question in a civilized way, I answer it in a civilized way, but don't yell and holler at me like I'm a boy, like I'm a little kid. I don't know why they refuse to stand up and say that to the Republicans. The Republicans are going on this bullying campaign, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't give us hope. When you sit up and you look at them being bullied, you say, well, how you going to fight for us if you can't stand up before them, before national TV? Now, Pritzker did a good job, as far as I'm concerned, as these hearings go. But the rest of them, they should have stood up and demand that they get the respect they deserve. Them Republicans had no business to be hollering at them senators, them elected officials like they kids and like they, like they are insignificant. Those are people elected officials, and they're prominent. So if they don't stand up for themselves and stand up for the people, then I just can't see how that works.
It doesn't work. You are correct. Thank you for your call. Let's take a break. Be right back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Taking your calls on the issues of the day. And some of y'all did it earlier, but in the last hour, I haven't heard any message songs. Black Music Month. I want to hear your favorite message song. We'll be right back after this.
What do you see there, Marcus?
I see Reverend Al Sharpton books. I see 1.
Let me see it.
I see 2. I see 3. I see 4. I see 5.
Let me see it.
First one. Second one. Third one.
been traveling around the country talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. Yeah. One more time. I want to say, I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. God told him it was a man's world.
LA, but had a full show last night and had on everybody. I do not mess with folks that can't give us direct what is going on and how it relates to us. I had the co-chair of the huge No Kings March, Randy Weingarten, on. I had the Attorney General of Minnesota about the shooting of these and killing of these elected officials on. I had a former General Andre on about the military parade. And I had on the Congressman Adam Smith from the state of Washington. So I really take time, have a staff that take time to get the right people, rather than just sitting around talking to your friends about who the smartest. I want y'all to hear from the people in power and me challenge them with questions. So watch it every Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. You in the New York area, meet me, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. Meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally this coming Saturday. Last Saturday we had Andrew Cuomo, who's running for mayor this Saturday. Zoran, who is the runner-up. Some polls has him 2, one had him 1. But Zoran, Ma'am Danny will be there, as well as Brad Lander and others running. Make sure you in the house early, get a seat, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. You that are not in the New York area can watch it all live on Impact Television, the only black-owned national gospel network. And don't forget, August 28th, March on Washington. I need you to be a messenger. March on Wall Street. We usually go to Washington. I need you to be a messenger. I need you to tell people why we're hitting Wall Street. And I tell people real simple, why we're going to Wall Street? The same reason the bank robber said he went to the bank. That's where the money is. If we hit where the money is, and it's good, we dealing with Pepsi, we did boycotts and boycotts, all that's good, but you need to also make a collective statement to put them all on notice. Every show is Dow Jones went up, stock went up. Well, let them say, you know what, there are thousands of dignified, disciplined folk outside standing up saying we got to deal with these racist practices. Go right now to www.nationalactionnetwork.net, www.nationalactionnetwork.net, and sign up. All right, let me go to the sage of the South, Brother Jihad in Atlanta. Brother Jihad.
Hello, Reverend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, two things if I could. You know, this argument, would you believe, would you think that the people of God will be determined by behavior as opposed to color? Wouldn't you think that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know,
And every book of faith, whether it is the Bible or the Quran, that's what they say.
that's what they say. So this argument about who is the people really is almost like a kiddie or sinister argument to claim favor with the Creator only because you were born in a certain place or you have a certain hue in your color.
Right.
That's so immature. It doesn't even make any sense. We would believe that God would choose favor on people by their behavior. And I just want to throw that argument, throw a little bone at that particular argument. The second argument, the brother said that Iran wants to blow Israel off the map. Is it possible to blow up Israel without blowing up the Palestinians too?
Wow, that's a great question.
You know what I mean? They're right there with each other. So how does Iran blow up Israel and miss the Palestinians? How does a nuclear bomb miss the Palestinians?
That's a great
Clearly,
point.
I mean, yeah, if you just use some common sense, rather, every Middle East country wished they had a nuclear bomb, and they pursued nuclear bomb. Why did they pursue it? Because it's an equalizer. It's a deterrent. Every one of them that don't have a deterrent or were beat or defeated. Every one of them. They didn't want the nuclear bomb to kill anybody. They understand clearly that it's the same thing like America and Russia. Nobody's going to throw a nuclear bomb at America, and Russia ain't going to throw it at America, and America ain't going to throw it at Russia because it's automatic death to both.
And they know it.
So it changes the... Yeah, go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I said, and they know it.
Oh, you saying they know it. And they know it. So the pursuit of the nuclear weapon was to balance out the situation because Israel won't admit that it has a nuclear weapon, but Israel has a nuclear weapon. So, simply put. You know what I mean? So these people got enough sense to understand if I don't build my muscles up and we got this disagreement, these people don't negotiate when they're in a position of power. They just don't. Historically, they haven't. They brag that they have. I think I heard one of them say. One of the Israelis said the other day, "You all talking to some white Europeans. You all killed 65 million people in World War II, and you all talking about us just killing 50,000." It seems that we're more careful in how many people we've killed compared to what you killed. You know what I mean? So the arguments get real silly, and it will get real sinister and silly in the end. So they're not trying to, you know how long I asked you the other day, Iran been on the planet almost 2,000. Them Persians been in that area maybe 4,000-5,000 years. You can read it in the history book.
That's right.
You can't read Netanyahu them in that area, period.
No.
But still, we're not going to get into that argument. Let's improve the argument, and let's measure people on behavior. Then we can get a better understanding. Because I believe 1,000% that God would not. And also, let me say this: that money in Chicago, because they keep bringing this up, is that federal money or state money or city money? They're claiming that these mayors are giving the immigrants.
I think that in some cases it's federal, but I'm going to dig into that, and it is certainly not at the degree they're talking. But let me get back to something you said, though, because I think people need to understand how right you are. When 9/11 happened, when they bombed the World Trade Centers here in New York, I said because a member of my organization, son, who now is a minister, pastors a church, mama died there, several other members of NAN. And I said that I now understand what's going on in both sides in Palestine and Israel. This is in 2001, 24 years ago. So I called the owner of the Daily News and said, I want to go over and visit and relate to how we all need to stop these attacks. He set it up. Sharon Peres, who was the foreign minister then of Israel, later became prime minister, said he's welcome to Israel. I went to Israel, met with him in Jerusalem, and he said, you ought to go see Yasser Arafat. I said, what? Because Arafat was the head of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, at that time Palestinian Authority. I said, well, first of all, I don't have contacts over there. I was going to reach out. He said, no, I already set it up. You got a meeting at 2 o'clock. And I went to Gaza. They brought me right to the border. Arafat sent some cars, picked me up, brought me in there. That's how close they are. It's like driving from Baltimore to Washington, D.C. So people talking about atomic bomb. If you hit Tel Aviv, you're going to hit Gaza. In terms of, because the elements of the air is going to carry whatever the bomb, if it's an atomic bomb, whatever it is. So let's quit playing with ourselves. If you hit Canada, you're going to hit North America. So I tell that story for two reasons. One, to totally agree with what you said about everybody wants an atomic bomb to neutralize the enemy. Nobody really wants to pull that trigger. And secondly, to say we argue more between these things than they're arguing. They're arguing business, and they keep talking. When this man can set up a meet with me with the PLO, and they were all supposed to be fighting, it taught me a lot. Don't let people play you for a fool. That's why my thing is, good, y'all got your issues. Now, I want to address mine. What do we get out of this? But y'all get in the middle of, it's like hearing somebody next door fighting, and you going to knock on the door and jump in the fight. It ain't your fight.
And they ain't even got the information to jump in the fight. You know, let me, Reverend Al, you're a preacher, and I studied about it a little bit. But wasn't the Comforter supposed to come before Jesus returned?
Yeah.
So
yes.
what are all these people talking about Jesus' return? Let's figure out this Comforter thing first. Because to my knowledge, the Comforter was supposed to come. What is the understanding of the Comforter?
That's the prophecy.
That has to come before Jesus.
That's the prophecy. But like in many things, we like to jump to the part we like. You know, it's like when I was a kid, me and my sister liked to eat the food we like and leave the vegetables. Folk like to jump to the Savior and jump past the Comforter. Just like I know a brother, you can appreciate this. I know a brother that we went to school together, and he was he had joined the Nation of Islam, but we respected each other. And we went to eat one night at Junior's restaurant downtown, and I ordered a sandwich. He ordered a ham sandwich. I said, "You can't eat that." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You can't eat pork." He said, no, it's a ham sandwich. He didn't think nothing was pork, but if it said pork chops, pork loin, that's why you got to study what you saying and doing before you say that. If it wasn't named pork, he thought it wasn't pork. I figured since you gave me the Comforter, I'd give you one back in Islam. Let's keep it real. Thank you, Brother Jihad. I'll be here tomorrow. Let me thank all of you that called in. Let me thank Antoine Seawright. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Reverend Al told you personally, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. I'll talk to you tomorrow.